The Red Bull Racing Team, a prominent name in the world of Formula One, has been caught in a whirlwind of power dynamics for several months. Although the situation might seem to have simmered down on the surface, there's a flurry of activity happening behind the scenes. The likelihood of Red Bull parting ways with either its team principal, Christian Horner, or its star driver, Max Verstappen, within this year is growing. Reports are indicating that a future where both Horner and Verstappen continue to steer the team is becoming increasingly improbable. Is such a drastic change really on the horizon? The saga began unfolding a few weeks ago when Red Bull executives convened for a meeting in Dubai. This meeting turned out to be a game changer for team principal Christian Horner, solidifying his position within the team like never before. The Thai majority shareholders have been unwavering in their support for Horner, raising questions about Verstappen's future with the team. Any possibility of delaying or even quashing Horner's ambition for dominance within the Red Bull group evaporated following the Red Bull leaders meeting in Dubai, which took place after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Contrary to what media reports suggested, the meeting served to fortify Horner's position rather than weaken it. The Thai majority shareholders' power surge left the other shareholders in a precarious position. The Austrian group seemed more preoccupied with retaining their positions on what was being perceived as a sinking ship, and however, the power dynamics could take a drastic turn. Rumors started circulating in the Melbourne paddock that Red Bull Holdings might be entirely relocated to Dubai. Shalarm Uvidia, the Thai majority stakeholder, is fully backing Horner's aspirations to gain complete control over both the beverage company and the motorsport enterprise. This support could only be jeopardized if a civil court ruled that Horner had acted improperly with an employee. It might take a while before the procedure commences and a verdict is reached. This gives Horner ample time to devise strategies that will catapult him to the pinnacle of the business. Horner hasn't been able to manage his own racing team as he would have liked. The pressing concern at the moment is how Max Verstappen will react. What significance does the alleged provision hold that allows him to leave if the team's power dynamic shifts? Raymond Vermeulen, Verstappen's manager, is rumored to have met with Thai executives in Dubai following the Australian Grand Prix. The topic of the conversation remains unclear. It wasn't about letting Horner go. More likely, he dropped the harsh truth to the Thais. If Horner continues to hold the reins, Max Verstappen will go. The world champion himself has been quite resolute in his statements. When Helmut Marko's suspension was announced, he made it clear whose side he was on. Christian Horner has stated that he will not force anyone to stay with the team. Despite the ongoing turmoil, everyone involved has at least agreed on one formula. They need to maintain enough stability so that Max can win the world championship. That is the #1 priority. The competition has been aware since the start of the season in Bahrain that Red Bull's situation could undergo a radical transformation in 2025. That's why the silly season, which had gained momentum early on with Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari, has once again come to a standstill. Everyone is waiting to see what Verstappen will do. The shuffle can only begin once that is known. Mercedes and Aston Martin have their eyes on Verstappen. Aston Martin is interested in a move that includes star designer Adrian Newey, who seems to be less appealing to Mercedes. For Newey, Aston Martin is more likely to compete with Ferrari. Aston Martin is clearly trying to offer a more enticing package than Mercedes with the Newey card and engine partner Honda. The prestige of a global business and the opportunity to become a lifelong brand ambassador are what matter there. If Verstappen wishes to leave, he must do so at the end of the season. If he stays with Red Bull for another season, it means that he accepts the new power balance. But how will Red Bull line up in 2025 if Verstappen were to leave? Who could fill his seat, and who would you like to fill his seat? Within the paddock, it is believed that Fernando Alonso's management has responded swiftly to the changing conditions. While the Spaniard was initially considered for the Hamilton seat at Mercedes, Alonso's manager, Flavio Briatore, now seems to see a greater opportunity at Red Bull. And in Horner, he has found someone who is interested in an Alonso deal. Horner can make an offer to Alonso without any issues because Sergio Perez's contract expires at the end of the year. If Verstappen stays, he will join the super team. If not, Perez can stay, or Horner's protege, Daniel Ricciardo, could make a comeback. It will be interesting to see what transpires during salary negotiations. Horner and the Thais might take their chances and see how far they can push their right to self-determination. In Red Bull's eyes, Alonso is a more suitable candidate for them than Carlos Sainz, who is also competing in the Bermuda Triangle with Red Bull, Mercedes, and Aston Martin. aiming to impress with his current performance. However, Alonso, with his uncompromising approach, aligns more with Red Bull's image than the well-behaved Sainz. Also, he is a former world champion, Sainz isn't. In a Red Bull, he would have another shot at winning a third world championship in 2025. That is enough for him. Mercedes would have more difficulty forming an alliance with the villain in the Formula One field. Alonso's performance against George Russell in Melbourne has not boosted his popularity at Mercedes. All signs in Mercedes point to Verstappen. You can hear it in every word spoken about the issue right now, and they are surprisingly well informed about what's happening behind the scenes at Red Bull. If things don't work out with the Dutchman, they'll probably go with Andrea Kimi Antonelli. The key to silly season seems to be the dynamic between Horner and Verstappen, and according to Viaplay analyst Ernest Gnors, Horner added fuel to the fire at the Australian Grand Prix by praising Carlos Sainz's performance. However, while his words regarding Sainz, the only driver that's beaten Red Bull, were initially understood to be in reference to Sergio Perez's second Red Bull seat, the Viaplay expert believes they were actually directed at Verstappen. I think you should see this a bit in relation to the power struggle of Christian Horner with Helmut Marko and Red Bull Thailand with Red Bull Austria. If Christian feels that Max Verstappen, Jos Verstappen, and Helmut Marko are putting a little pressure on him, he can think, well, someone like Carlos Sainz, if I bring him in, then I have someone with whom I can potentially become a champion. That would increase the pressure on Max, because I don't really think Max is eager to have Carlos Sainz as a teammate. I think there is a large part of politics involved, and Christian is of course politically very smart. But despite acknowledging the unrest at Red Bull, Sebastian Vettel claims Max Verstappen has no reason from a sporting standpoint to leave the team. There is of course a lot of unrest at the moment, but I think from a sporting perspective, there is currently no reason for him to think about anything else. The four-time world champion said, "What do you think will happen at Red Bull? Will Horner retain control, and would this cause Verstappen to change team? Or will another team boss take over and Verstappen stay on Red Bull? Leave your thoughts in the comments below."